36 days to go until Election Day in America. And faced with a candidate who promises to turn the page on all of this, on his particular brand of politics, Trump is plumbing the depths with rhetoric that is so extreme and so nasty and deeply personal over every known and acceptable boundary. He's raising fears over where the wannabe autocrat who attempted a coup the last time he lost is trying to take his supporters this time. Here's what he said on Saturday about his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Kamala is mentally impaired. Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. She was born that way. If you think about it, only a mentally disabled person could have allowed this to happen to our country. Anybody would know this.
So he does that to shock us, right? To get us to say, look how reprehensible he is. But we're not showing you that for those reasons. I mean, it's exhibit number 10,000 of that, of his moral bankruptcy, as if we needed more proof of that. We're not showing it to you because he's crossed some new line, and it feels great about it, adding to his political resume that is now defined by his vile, often racist attacks, with particular venom that he saves up, stores up, and directs at black women, as well as his long-standing disrespect toward all people with disabilities, a particularly loathsome trait of his. It's all true. It's not why we show it to you. We show it to you for this reason. Watch how the elected Republicans respond to what he said. Here's the number 3 Republican in the House, Congressman Tom Emmer.
Do you think Kamala Harris is mentally disabled? Do you approve of that kind of language?
I think Kamala Harris is the wrong choice for America.
Congressman, do you approve of that language? Do you approve of that language? Donald Trump calling her mentally disabled, mentally impaired. So you don't approve of that. You don't.
I think we should stick to the issues. The issues are Donald Trump fixed it once. They broke it. He's going to fix it again.
Okay, then let's.
So I don't know Tom Emmer, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't approve of the language, right? But he can't say that. He can't say that to Martha Raddatz. So he relies on this, quote, we should stick to the issues. But comments like that from Tom Emmer are a test. And they're not a surprise. The Republican Party has made its bed, and it is going to lie in it no matter what. And every time Trump's Republican allies refuse to condemn something Trump says or dodge answers, dodge answering questions about his latest outrageous statement, in Trump's view, he can check them off a list. They've passed the latest test, the dictator on day one test from Trump. Trump tests them as often as he can so that he knows at any given moment just how far he can push and just how far he can go with his enablers in the Republican Party. He wants to make sure they're following along, following him to the depths as he goes lower and lower. It's ahead of an election in which Trump is already baselessly claiming that there could be voter fraud. It's a new chapter in a lie that has already led to one domestic terror attack on the United States at the U.S. Capitol. Trump is stress testing now to see how tight his grip is over the Republican Party. That stress test also includes calls for violence. On Sunday, Trump reiterated his call for Vice President Harris to be prosecuted. And as NBC News reports, it is part of a pattern. Quote, he has increasingly threatened to go after other political foes if he is elected. He has talked about jailing Facebook co-founder Mark Zuckerberg and discussed possibly carrying out election fraud prosecutions against election officials, donors, and operatives. Donald Trump's increasingly dangerous rhetoric as we get closer and closer to the election as a stress test for the GOP is where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor joins us. With us at the table, full house, co-host of MSNBC's The Weekend, Alicia Menendez is back. Also joining us, distinguished political scholar and professor at Princeton University, Eddie Glaude is here, and former senator, host of MSNBC's How to Win 2024 podcast, Claire McCaskill is here. She's also monitoring the Mets game for me.
Bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, what do we got?
It's 8-7.
Okay. Thank you, Lindor. Claire, I think that we have followed the shiny objects for 9 years because they are indeed news, right? It is a news story. that he called the Vice President of the United States mentally impaired. But for him, it's also part of ignoring Lindsey Graham's advice. Lindsey Graham went out 4 weeks ago and said, I don't think he should insult her. A whole bunch of elected Republicans have been on TV for weeks telling him to stick to the issues and to try to brand her for her policies, not personal insults. This defiance is part of a test ahead of what is obviously a project that is already in motion from Trump's perspective, and that is to already sow doubt about the results of the next election. How do we respond to that?
I think it's really hard because clearly he is going places that even he has not gone before in order to get attention. He is desperate to grab attention back to, so the focus is on him. I think he was the most miserable time he's had campaigning, where the weeks on end, where everything was about Kamala Harris and everything was about her vice president and about her fundraising numbers and about her crowds and about her convention. And now I think he's going to places that even I think some of us are surprised, this being mentally disabled. And I just have one question for Donald Trump. If she's so dumb and mentally disabled, how come she wiped the floor with you at your debate? Why could you not stand up to her? And why are you so damn afraid to debate her again?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't pass any of the tests of logic, and SNL had some fun with that as well, though you delivered it better. I wonder, too, Yamiche, what the Harris campaign, who has, I think, raised the bar on how to sort of diminish Trump and shrink him down to size. They've turned it into an art form. What is their thinking behind the scenes about this kind of rhetoric and these attacks?
Well, I think, one, they don't want to engage and really respond point by point for every single personal attack that he wedges on her. They really do want to, especially in this last, what will be almost a month of the campaign, really stick to the issues and focus on the voters, because she still has a lot of work to do when it comes to undecided voters. That being said, when I talk to people close to her, I talk to longtime campaign aides, they say that this is really just Donald Trump revealing himself over and over again to voters. And it really is showing that he's someone who, in their mind, not my mind, but their opinion, is unhinged and unqualified to be president. So the more he attacks her personally, the more he says stuff like she's mentally unfit or she, quote unquote, turned black, the more it really makes their case in their minds that this is really someone who is showing himself to be unpresidential and who is showing himself to also not really have something that sticks when it comes to his attacks on the vice president. And a lot of Harris aides that I talk to sort of get the sense that he's still searching for a way to really get at the criticism that he wants to get to for her. He hasn't really found, they believe, the issue that he really wants to settle on. And as a result, you see him instead going after these personal attacks. They also say this is someone who, for a very long time, has really personally attacked women, personally attacked people of color. So this also is just more par for the course in their minds. That being said, I think the politics here is that the vice president wants to, in this moment, first look presidential, which is why you're seeing her leave Las Vegas and go back to the White House to deal with this hurricane aftermath. Of course, she cares about this because she is the vice president, but also it shows her being able to do the job of the presidency. And then she's going to keep on trying to hammer at sort of everyday kitchen table issues that she thinks voters care about, and in some ways not get into the back and forth, because she wants voters to look at her and say, this is someone who really cares about me and cares about why I'm struggling and all of the different things that are worrying me every day when I go downstairs and I go to try to make a living in this country.
You know, there is something in both what Yamiche is saying and what Claire is saying. I mean, she wants another debate. We know that. I think Ben Rhodes sort of had that sense, too, from talking to some folks close to her, that she would really, the campaign believes she would benefit enormously from another debate performance like the last one. And she has this insult that's everywhere. I mean, there is an opportunity to do exactly what Claire just said and said, if I'm so impaired, why don't you debate me anywhere, anytime?
To your point, none of this is surprising because we know what he thinks of women. We know what he said on the leaked Access Hollywood tape. We know what he has said about E. Jean Carroll. We know what he is telling us in his policies about our ability to control our own bodies. I think we got a preview of some of this when he was running against Nikki Haley, trying sort of workshop, calling her Nimrata, calling her bird brain. And so anytime he goes toe-to-toe with a woman, specifically a woman of color, he begins to devolve. in addition to everything you have laid out, the other reason I think it is important is because there is a small but meaningful subset of voters to whom all of that happened in the past. And it has not yet so fully shaped their thinking on him that they are prepared to make a candidate choice. So he continues to give them new data points, which is why Lindsey Graham and other Republicans are begging him. Voters have somehow forgiven you for some of the things that you've already said. Let's leave it there. And in this moment, when late deciders are tuning in and getting reacquainted with you, you don't need to remind them of the reservations that they had previously.